I'm live and I'm awake. I'm barely awake. Um, did you know? Hey, Amanda. Hey, Midwest Ginger. Did you know that I didn't know this until I was watching the BBC and they started talking. They had a documentary on that Ron Jeremy is being tried for forcible R and various things. I knew he was handsy. I'd heard for years that he was super handsy. But that kind of blew me away. I was pretty shocked. There's so many guys who've been accused of this lately, and they're going to trial. And I have one thing to say about that. Good. If you're one of these dudes that you're doing this stuff, you need to stop. You need to go down. There needs to be some consequences. Hey, Peg. Hey, Amanda. Turns out he's a predator as well. I know. Amanda, and I was real shocked last night. I ended up having to block like 4 or 5 people on Twitter. Hey, small town Jewel, because I noticed they were following and retweeting people I know for a fact are predators. One of them was this Dinesh D'Souza guy who's a Christian who, hey, Carolyn, oh no, you're not starting this SHIT this early. Put user in timeout and let's remove. You know, these guys and their spam, I just cannot understand how they were doing that. And this is going to top chat again, so I need to move to live chat, I guess. Hey, Rose. So, yeah, there's so many. I did see that the Collins kids' Instagram is back up. That tells me that poor little Anthem must be doing a whole lot better, and she must be doing well enough that CPS is no longer looking at the family, which I'm glad. Not because of the CPS, because I really think there needs to be some kind of intervention in this family, because I've seen how she kind of lets the kids be free range. But I'm thankful that the baby is not worst case scenario, which is what I was thinking was going on at first. Happy New Year, Midwest Ginger. Does anybody have plans? Hey, yeah, Michelle, does anybody have plans for tonight? You know what my plans are? There, the bed. I'm continuing on my let's pull everything apart and scrub the hell out of it routine, since we have friends coming next week. And I don't know what that's going to look like for this even. And I'm kind of on pins and needles because I don't know what's going to happen, because there's been so many flights that have been canceled or delayed. I keep looking at the daily flight log for the Liberia airport, trying to see how many flights are coming in, how many are canceled. Recovering from COVID in Amaretto. That sounds like a plan. I'm going bowling with my husband's work buddies. That also sounds like a plan, something to do. I'm so worried about them. You would think they would have the decency to say something about it. Small town Jewel, I think that she probably is going to eventually, but I think right now she's just interested in getting social services to leave them all alone. Of course, I don't know that. That's just my opinion based upon what I've seen before in Fundy Town. Plan on being in bed early. Got to work tomorrow at 7 a.m. Oh, healthcare worker. Well, cheers to you, because I know you're going to have your hands full once New Year's Eve is over and everybody was running out partying is now infected. I mean, that's what I'm really afraid of for New Year's Eve. I understand wanting to go out and have fun and party and all that. But at the same time, we're in the middle of a pandemic. It's probably not a good idea to do that this year. It's probably better this year to have a very quick stay-in day. I know my husband want to go to the beach or do something, but you know something? I am not doing that. We had a situation here, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 New Year's Eves, pre-pandemic. Let's just put it that way. 2, maybe? It's pretty weird that I'm having to look at stuff and go pre or post-pandemic. But they had like a stage set up out in the field outside of Tamarindo. They had all kinds of crap happening in Tamarindo. They had all of San Jose and Tamarindo, which is a tiny town, and this big town. And it was bumper to bumper gridlock. The entire one paved road into Tamarindo turned into a parking lot. A guy had a heart attack and they couldn't get him out and he died. So I think about that now every time there's a holiday here and we get crazy gridlock. My plans for tonight, another community is doing a live from, yep, small town Jewel. I may be doing that myself. Particularly if Claire Bear is hosting. She's a lot of fun. So who knows? If I'm not worn out by then, I will do that myself. So I wanted to talk about a couple things today, but I wanted to clarify something. I made a mistake yesterday when I was talking about. Somebody accused me on Twitter of thinking I know everything about everybody and everything, and I don't. And I freely admit that. I screwed up yesterday when I said that there was no way that Charter Communications would have fired Toad for having high healthcare costs. Somebody that works in the industry, several somebody schooled me yesterday on that. And I have no problem apologizing and saying I was wrong, because I was definitely wrong about that. Most of my healthcare adventures have been either with the military or with the federal employment program. And it's a whole different ball of wax. They don't whack you for having high dollar amounts. And I'm glad, because the 8, almost 9 years that I was on biologics, if I'd have had to pay that 100% out of pocket, it would have been $500,000. That's what they paid over that long length of time for me to have biologics that I'm still reaping the benefit of to today. Go healthcare, go federal employment program healthcare, and military and campus and all of that. So I definitely be staying in. I'll have to look her up. Does she have a channel in? She has a channel, and she's always on other people's channels as well. Just because they can fire her doesn't mean that they should. No, I'm actually really shocked, Java Man, that they do that, because they won't do that to you in the military or the federal employment program. They don't do that. And it's a good thing, because I've seen some people, not just myself, I've seen a lot of people going through some really horrible, hard times. My husband had cancer one year, and I don't even remember the bills. I know there were bills, and I know we paid them, but the bulk of it was covered by our federal employment program insurance. It's all about the bottom line. Yeah, and that's wrong, because there's always going to be these things that happen. They're going to cost a lot of money in healthcare. You know, my old pulmonologist, who I adored, I had him for like 10 years, and he was the best guy ever. I was the best doctor ever. He wasn't in it to make money. I mean, he would see me every couple of weeks for Xolair injections, and it turned out that he waived my copay, because he said it just felt wrong to take a copay from me coming in all that time. His idea about healthcare in the U.S. is, he said they should do away with malpractice insurance and malpractice lawsuits and allow everybody to charge reasonable rates. Yeah, he was pointing out how if you get a Tylenol in the hospital, it's like $20 a pill or some ridiculous amount. He just felt like the cost needed to come down, that the cost should not run that much to be able to take care of people. And I absolutely agree with him on that. I had a friend who had to get another job because they would no longer cover her husband. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Oh, word puzzler, that is awful. Although I think that Delta had the right idea by charging people who refuse to be vaccinated more, but that could have been unintended consequences. Java Man, I'm on the fence about that. While I'm approving of freedom and all that crap, even freedom, here's the thing. I fly a lot. I fly Delta a lot. And I want everybody around me to be vaccinated. And I want them to be tested to make sure they don't have COVID, because you're perfectly able to get COVID while you've been vaccinated. Why do you think I freaked out later last week and earlier this week thinking I had the Rona. I did. I had I had many of the symptoms. So who wants to sit next to somebody on a plane, which is like a giant metallic bus in the sky, if you think they might have the Rona? Nobody wants that. So here in Costa Rica, I've said this a bunch of times, they're getting ready to start in January a thing where if you don't have your card, your vaccination status card on your phone through through the health department here, and I do have mine, that you won't be able to go into banks, stores, restaurants, theaters. They're just going to not allow people to come into these different places if you aren't vaccinated. Java man, that's the problem. That is the problem. We're in a different you can shout out Small Town Jewel. Amanda, that is unfortunate. I mean, they obviously didn't get the vax 100% right, and that's because they had to rush the damn thing. I mean, it just takes a while with these virological things for them to get everything 100% right. I took the first series of shingle shots that came out because I was getting shingles all the time and had a very bad reaction. They pulled that vaccination and have retooled it, and what they have out on the market now is safer. So vaccination is not a guarantee, the first ones especially, before they've had a chance to fine tune them. So I'm not a anti-vaxxer. I'm pro-vaccination, but I can understand why people who don't want to take the vaccination, why they feel the way they do, because there are some validity to their feelings about this. But at the same time, when people tell me there's never been vaccination passports, I have to say, au contraire. In the military, you have a vaccination passport. It's yellow. I'll have to pull it out and show you guys one day. It's a yellow pamphlet, and it says on there, like, international vaccine passport or whatever. And they stamp in your vaccinations each time you get them. And when you're traveling across borders, some countries require that. Not most of the Western ones, but if you're going someplace like in Africa, they're going to want to make sure you got your yellow fever vaccination, all kinds of stuff like that. So vaccine passports have always been a thing. They just haven't been enforced. And I think that's the thing that people don't understand. They haven't been enforced. I tell people that vaccination severely attenuates the ability to affect others as well as the effects the infection on you. Java man, that is true. Hey, Carol. Yeah, I'm starting to try. I'm going to try to do lives at 10 in the morning because for me, this is a good moment for me in the day. I haven't really started my day. I've just written a lot and drank a whole lot of coffee. My drugs haven't kicked in, so I've sort of kind of got some a few brain cells rubbing around, which I may not have later in the day. You can get the vax and get the virus, but it's much lighter. There's stats to prove this. The shingles vax is no joke. It isn't a joke. And, I'm going to say this. I only had one dose of the old shingles vaccine. I didn't get the 2 required doses because I ended up in the hospital with the first one. And I don't get shingles anymore. Not at all. And I've gotten them quite a bit before that. So it actually worked like it was supposed to with me with just one dose. George Washington was in favor of mandatory smallpox vaccinations of the troops. Yeah, I'm Central Time for now. And then when time switches again in the fall, I'll be Mountain Time. The time here never changes because we're so close to the equator that it's just the same. And we get like 12 and a half hours of daylight, 11 and a half hours of darkness, which is a little weird. It took me a long time to get adjusted to, because it was just so strange. They do that all the time. I'm drinking my medicine this morning. They gave me some kind of prescription for a, I don't know, some kind of lung thing. And it doesn't taste great. It doesn't taste bad, but it's the first one. I got the shingles and the regular flu and the shingles vax. And I was sad. Oh, shit. Carol, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. For some reason, I haven't had shingles, but I have had the flu vaccination and turned around and got the flu. So it's kind of a crapshoot. You never know if they get the doses and everything exactly right. You just never know. But then again, life is a crapshoot. You get up, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. So I also have to talk just for a few minutes this morning about without a box of Kleenex, trying to tell everybody that she has been covering and exposing the IBLP for years. No such thing. A year ago, she barely knew who they were. She hasn't been doing this for years and years and years and years and years. And she's not fooling the experts. I mean, she surely did not fool anybody doing various documentaries that are asking people to talk. She hasn't been asked. She hasn't been interviewed. So that ought to tell you a lot about what her level of expertise is. She makes me laugh when she shouts out this stuff. And I'm just like, girl, we can all look back on the internet and see exactly what point you started following. Oh, Small Town Jewel, that was good for Christmas. Recline. I went into, oh, she does say a lot of crap, and I just try to ignore it most of the time, but sometimes I'm just so horrified. What do you guys make of over the fact that she hasn't posted on YouTube in almost 2 weeks now? People keep saying she's got 2 strikes and she's got to sit out for 2 weeks. And I tend to think they might be right on this one. Carol, that's exactly what she said, and that's not true at all. Let me read Carol's comments so everybody can see this, hear this, and I can debunk it. Did you know she said that you and she used to do something and that every time Bill Gothard said a word, you took a shot? Or is that what I understood her to say? I'm on the fence with mandatory. Okay, well, that's a vaccine thing. Didn't she pronounce their last name as Dugars years ago? A couple of years ago, yeah. Okay, the taking the shots thing never happened. She did steal that idea from me. It has nothing to do with Bill Gothard. Bill Gothard, I've observed for years, he's a girl fondling creep. He's no longer part of the IBLP. The ATI, as they like to call it, the ATI IBLP, she just calls it the IBLP, which is all wrong in and of itself because through the years, as they've shifted the name of this thing, now it is the ATI Advanced Training Institute, IBLP/IBLP, Institute of Basic Life Principles. My husband attended, so I actually got to look through all of his books like 15, 20 years ago and got a pretty good read on what Bill Gothard was all about. So no, her and I never watched anything to do with Gothard together. We never took shots together. She stole the idea of doing the shots every time somebody said something crazy like that from me, though, because I did a book review on a book by an author named Von Ullman. Von Ullman used to write the most horrible, horrific stuff. He would also try to do things like have these matchmaking type I don't want to call them conferences, but that's kind of what they were. And he would charge families $1,200 to matchmake their kids because he believed in girls marrying as soon as they got breasts. So I did a review of his book that he had written and self-published. The book is called What Are You Doing? And it is the creepiest damn thing you've ever seen in your life. All it talks about, it's like a perv thing where all he's talking about is the breasts of young girls and about young men wanting to do the nasty. And it's just all about focusing on sex. And this is why you have to marry teenage girls with teenage boys. And the boys have to be older than the girls. And the girls, as soon as they get their period, get their breasts, they can be married, which for me was like 12 or 13. So it would have been bad. I mean, I was nowhere ready to marry anybody when I was 12, even though I really wanted to marry Donny Osmond when I was 12, very, very badly. He's a disgusting individual, Bill Gothard. Amanda, he is. If she is uncovering all these laws being broken and kids being hurt, why is she not contacting the proper authorities? Jamie, that is an excellent, excellent question. It's an excellent, excellent question. And I don't have an answer for that one, why she would not be doing these things. So anyway, while I was doing a review of Vaughn's book, I took out a shot glass of my son's that was called a hillbilly shot glass, and it had different levels on it, like revenuer coming or preacher overstays is welcome. It was just all these crazy levels on it. It held 4 shots. So every time Vaughn Ullman would say something squishy or sexual, I would do a shot of tequila. Being borderline diabetic, tequila will lower your blood sugar. They don't even know why. So my endocrinologist told me that it was perfectly fine to have 1 to 2 shots of tequila every day for blood sugar purposes. So I would do this review, and every time I would read a passage, and I read this aloud on Facebook video. Every time Vaughn would say something squishy, I would do a shot. I wish I'd have done it on Facebook, on YouTube. Anytime he said anything that was like gross, I would have my shot glass and go, ugh, and do a shot. And I got real drunk a few times on camera because the book was just filled with so much squishy, flowery language that was sexual. It's the worm. I started getting to the worm at one point. It should have a minimum age of 18. I agree with you there, Java man. I wouldn't even be upset if it was 21 at this point, to tell you the truth. Just some of the young marriages I've seen and how they go haywire. More of them break up than anything else. So I think it's probably a good idea if you can wait. You can delay your marriage to your like mid-20s when your brain stops developing. So that's where she got the shots idea, because I started doing this. Oh, this is before I got here. So it was probably 6 years ago. So she's taking an idea of mine from 6 years ago, just like she took my entire leaving my cult story as her own in one of her videos. I'm still thinking about striking her for that one. Oh, not another one. So there we go. We got all those people. Boy, you'd be in bad shape if you took a shot every time Kleenex said something crazy. My liver would be dead. I can't do that. I seriously thought about doing a series of videos like that, but I thought, no, I cannot. Remember the Bill Gothard Choir Church? My dad brought in some of it. Do you remember Dr. McIntyre and Amen Charlie? Vaguely. I do remember a little bit about that, because that was not something that I was part of. I was raised Catholic. Well, let me back up. I was raised Catholic Episcopal. My mother was Catholic. My father was Episcopal. So do you know what that means? That means I frequently attended both churches. I usually went to Catholic Mass Saturday afternoon and Episcopal church Sunday morning. So I got a double dose. So when I was old enough to be able to make a choice about religion, guess what? I was pretty agnostic. Even atheist, dare I say, for many years, because it was like, oh, hell no, we weren't doing that. So that's basically where I was with all of that. So when I see her do these things and say, we used to do shots together, ain't no way. Ain't no way. So who knows? You hear her confirm that her and Amy are done. I saw that. She said Amy blocked her and she didn't want to say anything bad about Amy. Don't know if I'm buying that. Time will tell. Yeah, we do need to start a sub drive for every single creator that opposes KJ. Why? Because it would drive her nuts. Just like I know what Emily D. Baker's turn on ABC television drove her nuts. Just like I know the fact that I was filmed for 4 different documentaries in the last 6 months has probably driven her nuts, even if I end up on the cutting room floor. Like I've said before, talking to people in behind the scenes has been a thing for me for a long, long time. I mean, people writing for places like Time Magazine, People Magazine, the BBC. I've talked to so many people and they've picked my brain through the years. And I try to be generous with my information and not say, make up for me, credit me, or I'm going to strike you. I don't do that. I never have because it's just not who I am. You know, I believe in karma. I believe in doing good where you can, and if bad, if you know you do enough good, you're going to have good coming at you. Whereas, I think if you're doing shoddy things all the time, guess what's going to come to you? That's what's been for me the most frustrating about dealing with this, from having finally been exposed to who she was through Steve McRae and seeing the damage she's done through all of you guys and everybody on Twitter. Even though I sometimes block people on Twitter. Like I said, if I see they're following somebody I know is a sexual predator and they're retweeting them, block. If I see somebody is fighting with everybody all the time and it's dumb, block. I just don't want to be bothered with that. It never made sense. Bill G was unmarried, no kids, but was a leader for the IBLP. And I'm going to tell you another one that makes no sense in this whole thing. There is an anti-ATI blog. Anybody who has ever looked at what is the name of that blog? They were a group I was involved with until they got all splintery and crazy, and I kind of broke off from them. Homeschoolers Anonymous. Homeschoolers Anonymous, the Coalition for Responsible Home Education. There are a couple of them. My friend Heather Doney, her blog is all anti-ATI IBLP. And I'm sure that KJ has read all of these blogs. I've been watching this young woman named Elle who has a channel called Ex-Fundy Diaries. She credits one of Suzanne's Quiverfull R's as one of her vids as a help for leaving. I am so happy to hear that. I hear that every now and then, and that's like, that's all the payment I need for the things I've done and for this and for writing and all of that. So anyway, long story short, it's an unpleasant thing to be going through. And some of the kids going through this and some of the adults, they just spiral in these different places. There's not a whole lot of agreement among the leaving communities. The survivor communities have a lot of fights. And I try to stay above that. I've been drug into a couple of them in the past. Never again. So I want to talk about that leaving today. That's the main subject I wanted to talk about. Here we are, 28 minutes, and I haven't even gotten to that. How can you help your friend that's dealing with this and they're getting ready to leave? I have one suggestion. There's one thing you can do that is the most important of all. You can listen. Listen without judgment. Don't say, well, of course, because those people are all kinds of in the head. Don't do that. Just listen. Be supportive. Hold their hand. If you're going to say anything, just murmur very reassuring things like, I hear you, I understand. That must be so hard. You have to use reflective language when you're dealing with people leaving. That would be awesome, Amanda. This is really the hardest thing you can do when you're enmeshed in one of these high demand religious groups, is to leave. When you're leaving all your friends, you're leaving your entire support network, you're leaving everything you know, you're leaving your theology. Because even if you say, I'm going to keep believing the same thing, it becomes harder and harder as you realize that what you were sold is a bill of goods, and that as you're leaving, you start doing a lot of critical thinking about what it is you believe. It makes a huge difference. You start leaving, and it's painful. It's incredibly painful. So the last thing you need when you're trying to leave, or you're even thinking about leaving, is people who are telling you how stupid you are for believing what you believed in, or how screwed up what you believed in is. You really don't need that. That just makes it harder for you to leave and to heal. It just makes it all the more harder. I'm dealing with a situation here with somebody that I've talked about before. Who's a friend of mine who was leaving her marriage of like 30 some odd years. Her husband left her. And I've been kind of short with her because she's done some things to me I don't even want to talk about. Yeah, that is a very interesting book. A very, very interesting book. So recently it dawned on me she was raised fundamentalist Christian, IBF. Her father was a pastor. So she was raised with all the patriarchal BS. I'm just going to call it what it is. She got married and kept on. So now she's having to deal with the real world for the first time in her life, and it is getting really weird for her and really hard. So I'm just publicly stating I'm going to try to be more understanding. I'm trying to take my own advice and just hold her hand and listen to her because that's really the only thing that I can do. Okay, you guys, I'm going to have to go. I have to finish cleaning my house before our guests get here, and then I got to move on to the guest house. I can't even get a hold of my maid. Okay, I am going to have to go. You guys have a wonderful day. Don't get too crazy tonight. I certainly am not. Even I may take 1 or 2 tequila shots if I can skip my blood pressure meds.